Hello everybody and welcome. This is a school project, so if the YouTube algorithm somehow brought you here, please save yourself the cringe and disappointment and save yourself. Yeah, save yourself because today I'm going to be reviewing the books I read senior year. Yay! But first, look at my tattoo. Anybody who appreciates literacy, it's itchy. Anybody who appreciates literacy will appreciate this tattoo. Not for the poem. Clearly, it's for the beholder from Dungeons and Dragons, because Dungeons and Dragons is a literary masterpiece. I'm pretty sure the first book I read this year was The Living Dead by George A. Romero and Daniel Crouch. I was very close to the end when my senior year started, and I actually never ended up finishing it. It got kind of weird, but half of the books on this list are also pretty weird, so basically it's your average zombie apocalypse story. It has 4 separate storylines following 4 different main characters, and they all end up intertwining somehow. I think it's really well done, and I really do like it, but you might want to skip any chapter with the Navy pastor in it, because trust me. Next was The Promise of Lost Things by Helene Dunbar, if I'm saying that right. I'm probably gonna butcher most of these. Let me preface this by saying I don't remember anything about this book. It was on my to-read list and I read it, and it wasn't my favorite. Okay, you all know this one. 1984 by George Orwell. And if you didn't end up taking a high school English class, 1984 is a dystopian about a totalitarian government taking over Europe. And this man has conflicting feelings about it. The way the government is structured is it's trying to eliminate individual thought, and he wants to partake in the individual thought. It's basically supposed to center around the idea that human beings are slaves to our inhumanity, and inhumanity will win over humanity every time, no matter how hard we try. According to Orwell, I mean, you could be on the faith in humanity or I don't think so. I'm trying to be on this side, but yeah. Also a super weird book. I'm glad that we didn't get to the second half in class. I actually really did like it up to a certain point. I didn't like the protagonist as much. Winston, he's kind of a loser, and you think he's gonna end up not being a loser, but he ends up just staying a loser. I think maybe I found him relatable in a way, and I didn't like that. I don't know. It's a good book, and I think Orwell did a fantastic job at executing his point that humanity sucks. While reading this for English, I was simultaneously reading this novel written by Erica LaRocca called Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. The entire book is a collection of emails and texts exchanged between these 2 women in a police investigation. Agnes is selling an apple peeler online where she meets Zoe, another queer woman coming out of a long-term relationship. Zoe begins asking things of Agnes that slowly drive Agnes to kill herself and peel her eyes out with this apple peeler. I was pretty on the fence about this book. I went into it expecting more than what I got, but I wasn't necessarily disappointed with what I got either. It's marketed as horror, but I honestly found it more disturbing than anything else. If you want a quick read though that leaves you pretty unsettled, I definitely recommend this, but I mean, it's only a couple hundred pages. In honor of the trailer that just released, I would like to make the honorable mention The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I got about halfway through before I did the thing where my mind hyperfixates on something else and I lose interest in the current thing I'm interested in. I really should get back into it though, because it was a really good read. I did enjoy it. It's a prequel to the Hunger Games series Team PETA, centering around Coriolanus Snow, aka President Snow, before he became president. Now, instead, he's this hot, relatable 18-year-old, which makes the things you already know about him very conflicting.
Please, please just hear me out, please.
I would highly recommend reading it though before you go see the screen adaptation in November. Another half-read honorable mention is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. It's on the slower side, but I did enjoy the parts that I ended up reading. It's about an unnamed man and his son as they are quite basically just trying to survive this unexplained apocalypse. You don't really know what happened. It's this ashy dystopian world, and I don't remember a very clear end goal other than there being like them getting to the coast because that's the safest. And it's generally about preserving your humanity in a world where there is none left. All the while raising a child who is looking up to you and watching you. It kind of reminds me of the Walking Dead game. Miss Byer, you probably don't know what that is, but it's one of my favorite games. It's a choose your own adventure, and it's really good, and it's similar. It reminds me of this book. Anyways, we have our final book, the infamous Marauders fanfiction, written by Miss King Bean 89, All the Young Dudes. I started reading this after Hogwarts Legacy came out, and I needed something to be interested in again. My dad and I were watching the scene from Prisoner of Azkaban where Lupin quits, and he goes into this whole thing about how if it got out about his lycanthropy, parents wouldn't want him to teach their children, and that people like him are used to this type of treatment.
I've looked worse, believe me.
You've been sacked.
No. No. I resigned, actually.
Resign? Why?
Well, it seems that somebody let slip the nature of my condition. This time tomorrow, the owls will start arriving, and parents will not want well, someone like me teaching their children.
But Dumbledore...
Dumbledore has already risked enough on my behalf. Besides, people like me are, well, let's just say that I'm used to it by now.
And we both looked at each other and we were like, I think he's gay. Yeah, I know he's married to Tonks, but I think it could be interpreted as an innuendo for sexuality. Anyways, long story short, I decided to read one of the most well-known fan fictions, and it's about Remus Lupin's life predating Harry Potter. How he became friends with James, Lily, Sirius, Peter, the First War against Voldemort, and the creation of the Marauders map, which is pretty cool. Super good. I mean, when you hear fanfiction, you think of like some 13-year-old girl writing a self-insert about her at a One Direction concert, but this was such a fun and captivating read. Even if you aren't a Harry Potter fan, you can still easily follow along with the story. Everything is really well explained, and I think it's a great book. I haven't finished it quite yet. I'm about 16% of the way through. It has like 1,000 pages, and I hope to read it after I graduate. It's so funny because like the only time it's reasonable to read is when you're in school or when you're forced to. And even I like really like reading. I just have this like voice in the back of my head saying it's a waste of time if I'm doing it anywhere else. I'm looking back at the script for this now. It's 5 pages and I'm like, damn, I haven't read this much since my Percy Jackson obsession in 6th grade. I think I just personally really need to reserve the time to read because I am in so much better of a mental place when I do read books instead of like scrolling mindlessly through social media. I mean, that's all been heard before by many people, but it's true. And I probably will finish this video and then I'll end up, being on my phone for the rest of the evening. But in my heart of hearts, I know that I should be reading a book. I will conclude this video with 2 parting quotes, and definitely because they are not required on the rubric. You've no right to starve people, to punish them for no reason, no right to take away their life and freedom. Those are things everyone is born with, and they're not yours for the taking. Winning a war doesn't give you that right. Having more weapons doesn't give you that right. Being from the capital doesn't give you that right. Nothing does. And that's from The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. And then the next one, which I find more, well, I definitely find that relatable. I think of America, honestly, and how it's a pissing match for who in the world has the bigger weapons, who has the more power. Everybody is inferior to somebody, and I don't know, it's just a mess. But this is another relatable quote, which has become more and more relatable. The strain of being a full-fledged adult every day has grown tiresome. And that's also from the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I don't know where this is in the book, and I don't know who says it, but I need to find that because, like, same, man. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found a good book. I hope you found a good book rec out of this. I will hopefully not be in high school by the time anyone watches this. So, that's exciting. But yeah, keep reading, and I'll try to keep reading as well. Someone's making food right now. Like, I don't know who, but I just had like the smell waft upstairs, and it's, oh my gosh, you can't hear it because like the camera is a little bit further from me, but my stomach is screeching for food right now. I think they're making ramen. I think it's my little brother. I should go bully him for some ramen.